Midway upon the journey of our life, I found myself in a dark wilderness, where I had wandered from the straight and through. How hard a thing is it to tell about that wilderness, so savage, dense and harsh. Even to think of it renew my fear. It is so bitter that is hardly more, but to reveal the good that came to me, I shall relay the other things I saw. How hard I endure, I can't bring to mind. I was so full of sleep just at that point, when I first left the way of truth behind. But when I reached the foot of a high hill, right where the valley opened to its end, the valley that had pierced my heart with fear, I raised my eyes and saw it shoulder road, with a ray of that wandering light of heaven that leads over the right of every road. that quitted a bit the dread that steer, trembling within the waters of my heart. All through the night of misery I endure, and as a man of labor breathing, dragged his legs out of the water, and the shore fixes his eyes upon the dangerous sea. So to my mind was still a fugitive, turned back and gazed again upon the past, which never let the man escape alive, which never let the man escape alive. I stumbled to the deepest wood. Before my eyes appeared the form of one who seemed hoarse, having held his word so long. And when I saw him in that endless way, mercy upon me, mercy, I cried out. Whatever you are, a shade or a man in truth. He answered me, no man, I was a man, and both my parents came from Lombardy, and Mantua they call their native land. I was a poet and I sang of how Troy, proud towers and walls were burned to dust. I said, then are you Virgil? You are my teacher, I said. You alone are the one from whom I took so much. See, there's a beast that makes me turn aside. Save me from her, oh man, renowned and wise. Save me from her. It is another journey you must take, he said, replied the poet when he saw me weep. If you wish to escape this savage place, it is another journey you must take. You are my guide, my teacher and my Lord, so did I say to him. Then we set forth, taking the deep and savage wooded path. You are my guide, my teacher and my Lord, so did I say to him. Then we set forth, taking the deep and savage wooded path. I am the way into the city of fools. I am the way into the eternal pain. I am the way to go among the lost. Justice caused my high architect to move. Divine omnipotence created me. The highest wisdom and the primal love. Before me there were no created things, but those that last forever, as do I. Abandon all hopes who you enter here. I saw these words of dark and harsh intent engraved upon the archway of a game. Teacher, I said, their sense is hard for me, and he to me as one who read my thoughts. You must leave this rough and doubt behind. You must put on cool words to them. We have come to the place I spoke about, where you would see the souls who dwell in pain. For they have lost the good of intellect. For they have lost the good of intellect. We're at the gates of hell. We're at the gates of hell. And after he had laid his hand on mine, he led me to the secret things below. Their sighs and moans and utter wailing sweat resounding through the dark and starless air. I heard them for the first time and I wept, shuddering din of strange and various tones, sorrowful words and accents pitched with rain. We were at the gates of hell. We are at the gates of hell. Then raised up a tube that was swinging around in the dark air, tinted by a dome. A sound grain whipping when the whirlwind blows. A blind of horror held my brain. Said I, my teacher, what are these cries I hear? My teacher, who are these people conquered by their pain? He said, here they're thrown in among that petty choir of angels who were from themselves alone, not rebels and not faithful to the Lord. Heaven drives them out to keep its beauty pure, nor will the deep abyss receive their souls, lest they bring glory to the wicked there. Teacher, said I, what weighs upon their hands? What grief is that makes them wail so loud? He responded, a few words will do. These souls immortal have no hope for them, and their blunt lives kept groveling so loud. They live with every other love. The world allows no rumor of them now. Mercy and justice hold them in contempt. Let's no more say about them, just look and pass away. The world allows no rumor of them now. Mercy and justice hold them in contempt. Let's no more say about them, just look and pass away. And I behold in so a butterfly, and I behold in so a butterfly in the way. These worthless wretches who had never lived were pricked to motion now perpetually by flies and wasps that stung their naked limbs and run the blood in furrows down their feet, where loads of maggots gathered at the road. When I had turned my gaze, I saw a band of people gather at the banks of a broad river, and coming at us in a boat, an old man, hair and skin white with age, hollering, "Woe to you, you crooked soul, give up all hopes to look upon the sky. I come to lead you to the other shore, into eternal darkness, fire and ice. And as for you there, you living souls, get away from these others who are dead. But when he saw that I would not depart, he said, another way, another port will bring you passage to the shore. A lighter boat must carry you across. Quite grumbling, Charon, said my guy. Be still, no questions, only now that is will. Where power is power to do whatever it will. Then all at once the gauchy Joe fell quiet. Those of the rower of that livid swamp, whose furious eyes yet flashed with wheels of fire. But when they heard the old man's cruel words, those naked and exhausted souls turned white, gnashing their teeth with fury for their fate. Charon the demon, eyes of fury cold, signals them all to get in the boat, smacks with his oar the soul that lags behind. So they cross the murky waters, and before they disembark upon the farther side, another throng has gathered on the shore. My gracious teacher spoke to me. My soul, all souls that die beneath the words of gold, from every nation here collecting one, and they are prompt to cross the river. The gloomy plains of hell shook with such might that fold the terror's path. It bathes me in a sweat to think of him, that tear-drenched land. Heaved for a sudden blast, flashing a lightning bolt as red as fire, that vanquished all my senses, and I fell as a man falls whom sleep has overcome.
Thunder, a great boom broke into the deep sleep in my head and made me shake myself as one who is awakened by main force. Then I stood up and turned my rested eyes about me, peering steadily to see what kind of a place it was where I walk. Indeed, I found myself upon the brink of the valley of the sorrowful abyss. Thundering with a roar of endless woe, so dark it was and deep and bleared mist, that though I fixed my gaze upon the bottom, I still could not discern a single thing. Into the blind world let us now descend, began the poet, his face as pale as death. I will go first and you will follow me. And I, as I had seen his color turn, replied, how should I go when you're afraid? You who have been my courage when I doubt. He said, the anguish of the soul those who dwell down here has painted in my face the pity you have taken to be fear. We must be moving on, the road is long. We must be moving on, the road is long. So he set forth, and so he made me enter into the first belt circling the abyss, into the first belt circling the abyss. Before a noble castle then we came. 7 times it was ringed with the lofty walls, defended all around by a lovely stream. Over the stream we passed as on dry land. There through the 7 gates I entered, and we reached the fresh green field, where I saw souls whose eyes were graves and slow. Seldom they spoke and held their voices low. We drove away the warm place of the plain, a place high and free and filled with light. Then we might see them all. And there before me on meadows bright as fire, the spirits of the great were shown to me. Glory it is to see what I have seen. Glory it is to see what I have seen. I saw Electra with a numerous train. Among them I knew Hector and Aeneas, Caesar with his falcon eyes. Apollo, I saw Penthesilea and Camilla. On the other side King Galatius, who sat beside his child Lavinia. I saw Brutus, Lucretia, Julia, Marcia and Cornelia, and sitting by himself Saladin the Great. I saw the souls of Socrates and Plato, Democritus, Thales, Empedocles, Zeno, Diogenes and Heraclitus, and Anaxagoras, Dioscorides and Orpheus. I saw them all. I saw them all, I saw them all. Euclid, Ptolemy, Hippocrates and Avicenna, Averroes, Cicero, Livy and Moro, Seneca. I give no reckoning of them all. Often my words fall short of the event. I saw them all, but I give no reckoning of them all. Often my words fall short
of events. Guide leads me another way, out of the quiet, into the trembling air, into a place where nothing ever shines. So I descended from the outer ring down to the next, which bears less space about, but stings the soul to greater agony. Horrible Minos runs there like a bull, weighs all the sins and sends the wicked down, according to how far he wins his tale. I mean that when our born in evil home appears before him, he confesses all, and then Judge Minos, the sin connoisseur, discerns what place in hell is fit for him. He bailed himself with his tail as many times as there graced the sinner must descend. Ever before him stands a crowd of souls. They step up one by one to testify. They speak and hear and then flung below. When Minos saw me around, he said, "You who come to this sanctuary of pain, beware, watch how you enter, and in whom you trust. Don't be fooled by the broad and easy game. Don't be fooled by the broad and easy game." I now began to hear rising wails of sorrow. I have come where the great cries batter me, like waves pounding the shore. It is a place where all life is stuck dumb, moaning as when high winds from east to west wrestle upon the sea in a fierce storm. That hellish cyclone that can never rest snatches the spirits up in its driving wheel, whisks them about and beats and buffets them, and they fall before the ruined slope. And then the shrieking, the laments, the cries, then they hurl curses at the power of God. The howling voices I heard, O living spirits, courteous and good, traveling the black night to visit us, who left the world dyed purpled with our blood, where he who rules the universe. We wouldn't treat him, praying for your peace, for you have pitied us, our twisted fate. All that you please to hear and speak with you, as long as the wind falls in silence, where the bow rushes with all the tributaries down to its sea harbor that may have peace. In that place lies the town where I was born. And all the while our spirits told their tale, the other wept so sadly I fell, for pity of it, to a death-like faint, and I dropped like a body shrinking down. In coming to my mind, I shut its door, pitying those kinsmen and their tale, confounded me and covered me with sadness. I see new forms of torments all about, a new tormented soul wherever I move. Wherever I turn, wherever I set my gaze. At the third ring am I, where the rain falls eternally, accursed, ponderous and cold. Changeless in rhythm, changeless in quality, thick knob of hell, snow, waterfall as ink. Pour down forever through the gloomy air and soak into the ground to make it stink. Cerberus, the bizarre and cruel beast, with his 3 gold sparks like a dart, over the spirits droning in that face. His eyes are bloody, his scarf is slick and black. His pouch is huge, his bow hands clothed like hooks, to snatch and skin and shred the souls to bits. The downpour makes the spirits yawn like dogs. They roll upon one side to chill the other. This desecrating wretches turn and turn. When Cerberus, that great warm cold sight of us, he bared his lines, his fangs, and opened his walls wide, his muscle down and not one holding still. We took our way passing above the shadows in the press of that thick rain, and fixed our souls upon what's in their persons but wasn't in us. Each one of them flat on the earth lay prone until one jerked himself up to a sit as soon as he perceived us passing by. Oh, you live through this low world, said the shade. Look at me well, you may know who I am, for you were made before I was a man. For that sin of the throat that damned the soul, as you can see, I'm flattened by the rain, and I am not the only sad soul here, for all these others suffer the same pain. We dwell among the blackest souls below, way to the pit by different foes, different foes. Go far enough and you will find them all. But when you have returned to the sweet world, I beg, remember me to someone there. I say no more, and no more will respond. His eyes that held me rolled a squint. He stared at me a moment, hung his head, and fell flat with the other sinners, blind as day. Round in a circle by the road we went. We came to the point where the descent is. There we found Pluto's the great enemy. Vale Saturn, 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 Vale Saturn. There's Plutus with his clocking voice began, and the brilliant sage who all things knew, say to encourage me. Let not fear harm, for any power that he may have shall not prevent you going down this crack. Then he turned round into the bloated lip and said, be silent, you accursed wolf, consume within yourself with your own rage. Not causeless is this journey to the abyss, thus it is willed on high where Michael Roth begins. Even as the sails inflated by the wind involved together full while snaps the mast, so fell the crude monster to the earth. Thus we descended in the fourth chasm, gaining still farther on the dorsum shore, with all the woe of the universe in sacks. As does the below thereupon carried the this, that break itself on the which encounters, so here the force must down the round delay.
so high, people more than 12. Man on our side and the other with great horse, rolling weights forward by main force of chest. They clashed together, and then at the point each one turned backward, rolling retrograde. Thus they return along the lucid circle, on either hand and to the opposite point, shouting their shameful matter evermore. Then each, when he arrived there, wheeled about through this half circle to another just. Let us descend now into the greater womb. Already sings each star that was ascending. When I set out and loitering is forbidden now. We crossed the circle to the other bank, near to a fount that boils and pours itself along a gully that runs out of it. The water was more somber than Percy, and we, in company with the dusky waves, made entrance downward by a path and cove. A march it makes which has the name of Styx, the truthful brooklet when it has descended down to the foot of Malin grey shore. Stood in tune to one beholden, so people much sprint in that lagoon. All of them naked and with angry look, they smote each other not alone with hands, but with their heads and with their breast and feet, tearing each other piecemeal with their feet. Beneath the water people are who sigh and make this water bubble on the surface, as the eye tells thee wheresoever it turns. Fixing the mire, they say, we soon wear in the sweet air which by the sun it gladdened, bearing with ourselves the sluggish reek. Now we are sullen, it's this sable mire. This hymn do they keep gurgling in their throats, for this unbroken word they cannot say it. Thus we went circling round the filthy fen, a great arc twist the dry bank and the swamp. Oh,
with eyes turning to those who go the mire. And to the foot of a tower we came at last. And to the foot of a tower we came at last. I say, continuing that long before we to the foot of the high tower had come, our eyes went upward to the summit of it, by reason of two flamelets we saw placed there. And from afar another answered them so far that hardly could the eye attain it, and to the sea of all descendant turned, as I beheld a very little boat come over the water toward us at the moment, under the guidance of a single pirate, who shouted, "Now catch you a ride, you feel so." Yes, flickless, you cries out in vain. You shall not have longer them in passing, said my guide, and my God said, then we descended down into a boat. My guide made me enter after him. Soon we were into the boat. The empty prow goes on its way, dividing more of the water than it walked with others. While we were running through the dead canal, uprose in front of me one full of mire. He shouted, hollered, made me almost fear his blasted words, and fell back into the stream. Then we arrive within the most profound, that circumvallate, that disconsolated city. The walls appears to me to be of iron, not without making first a circuit wide. We came onto a place where loud the pilot cried out to us, "Debar here."
entrance. More than 1,000 at the gate I saw, out of heaven's rain down, who angrily were saying, who is that without that goes to the kingdom of the people there? Then I closed the portals, my master said, who has denied to me the doors of houses, this fan which a prodigious stenches exhale, encompasses about the city Doland, where now we cannot enter without anger. Towards the high tower with the red flaming sun at my eyes saw the three infernal furies, stained with the blood of all, who have the limb of women and their mind, with their greenest hydras were begirt, small serpents and cerastas wear their tresses, where with their horrid temples were unto wine. Each one of her breast was rending with her nails, they beat them with the bones and cried so loud that I for-dragged pressed close unto the poet, my master.
And now there come across the turbid waves the clangor of a sound with terror fraught, because of which both of the margin tremble, not otherwise it was then of a wind, impetuous on account of adverse heats, that smites the forest and without restraint, the branches rents, bends down and bears away, routes onward laden with dust. it goes superb and puts to fly the wild beast and the shepherds. Even as the frogs before the hostile serpent across the waters scattered all abroad, until each one is huddled in the earth, more than 1,000 ruined souls I saw, thus fleeing from before one who on feet was passing over the sticks with souls unwept. He reaches the gate and with a little rope he opened it, though there was no resistance at all. I heard, "Oh, banished out of heaven, people's by." So we our feet directed toward the city. Within we entered without any contest at all. Soon I was within, cast around my eye, and see on every hand an ample plain, full of distress and torment terrible. The sepulchres make on the place uneven. So likewise did they there on every side. Flames between the sepulchres were scattered, by which they're so intensely heated were that iron more. So ask not any art at all. All their covering were uplifted, and from there issued forth such dire lament, such dire laments. Should seem they of the wretched and tormented. Now onward goes along a narrow path, between the torments and the city wall. The people who are lying in these tombs, might they be seen, might they be heard, might they be seen. Already are uplifted the covers are, already are uplifted the covers are. Upon a sudden issued forth this sound from out one of the tombs. I had already fixed my eyes on his, and he arose erect with breast and front, even as if hell he had in great despite. As soon as I was at the foot of his tomb, somehow, somewhat he eyed me, then asked of me, who were your ancestors? Who were your ancestors? Then they uprose upon the side, uncovered down to the shin, a shadow on his side. I think that he had risen on his knees. Weeping, he started asking about his gone son. Then he fell again, and forth appeared no more, and forth appeared no more. Then we left the wall and went towards the middle, along a path that strikes into the valley, which even up there unpleasant made it strange. Into the valley we went in. Upon the margin of a lofty bank, which great rocks broken in a circle made, we came upon a still more cruel throng, and there by reason of the horrible excess of stench, the deep abyss rose out. We drew ourselves aside behind the cover of a great tome, whereon I saw writing which said, Pope Anastasius I hold. Master said, slow it behoveth our descent to be, so that the sense be first a little used to that sad blast, and then we shall not heed it no more. My son, upon the inside of these rocks are three small circles from grade to grade, like those we are leaving. They are full of spirits, maledicts. But follow now as I will fain go on, for quivering as the fishes on the horizon, and the wane wholly over chorus lies, and far beyond there we descend the crag. The place where to descend the bank we came was alpine, and from what was there moreover of such a kind that every eye would shun it. For from the mountain top from which it moved unto the plain the cliff it shadowed so, some bad would give to him who was above. Ever such was the descent of that ravine, and on the border of the broken chasm, the infamy of Crete was stretched along, who was conceived in the fiction's skull. And when he beheld us, he beat himself, even as one whom anger racks within.
And is that fool who breaks loose at the moment in which he hath received the mortal blow, who cannot walk but staggers here and there, and so do I see the Minotaur like. Master said, run to the passage, while here is wolf we shoot the sound. Thus down we took our way over the discharge of stone. We fixed our eyes below, for we were coming near the river of blood, within which boiling is a weather by far did injure others. I saw an ample moat bent like a bow, as one which on the plain encompasses. And between this and on the embankment's foot, centaurs in file were running on with arrows, beholding our descent, each one stood still. And far from this squadron three detached themselves with bows and arrows ready to strike. From afar one shouted, unto what torment you came, who down the hillside is descending? Tell us from there, if not I draw the bow. Here the centers by thousands and thousands go about the moat shouting with shouts, whatever soul immerses out of the blood. We said who we were and why we walked. We gained a center to escort us then, and where the blood was slowly declining, we passed the fort.
When we had put ourselves within a wood that was not marked by any path whatever, not foliage green, but of a dusky color, not branches smooth, but gnarled and intertangled. No apple trees were there, but thorns with poison. There do the hideous harpies make their nests, broad wings have they, and their great bellies fledged. They make laments upon the wondrous trees. I heard on all sides lamentation uttered, and person none beheld. I who might make them, whence utterly bewildered I stood still. I think my master too that I have perhaps my thing. So many voices issue through those trunks, from people who conceal themselves from us. Therefore the master said, the thought you have will wholly be made vain. Then I stretched forth my hand a little forward, and plucked the branchlet off from the great thorn. And the trunk cried, "Why do you lie after it had been cut, after what you've done? Why do you write? Have you no spirits of spiritual whatsoever? Men's swans were westward, and now as out of a green brand that is on fire, at one of the ends from the other chips, and hisses with the wind that it escaping. So from the splinter issues from together, both words and blood. I then left the tip full and stood back with horror and fear. Then blew from the trunks again a wind with a voice inside sang, when the soul abandons our bodies, mine is consigned to the seventh abyss. It falls in the forest, there like a grain of spelt it germinates. It springs a sapling and a forest tree, the harp is feeding, then upon it leaves. Do pain create, and for the pain an outlet? Then we were attentive still to the trunk voicing, when by a tumult we were overtaken. When by a tumult we were overtaken.
trembling as one feels when the boar and chase approaches, stand the beast and branches crashing and clashing in the heat of a fierce race. And there on the left, running so violently that broke out every twig in a dark wood, to tone and making words were flinging in. The leader cried, "Come now, old dad, come now, come now, old dad, come now." And suddenly in his rush, perhaps because his breath was failing him, he hid himself inside the thorny bush and cowered among its leaves. And then at his back the woods leaped with black bitches, swift as greyhounds. Escaping from the lash, and on the back sprang on him. With their fangs they opened him wide. With their fangs they opened him and tore him savagely, and then withdrew, carrying his body with them, limb by limb. Limb by 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 limb. Limb by 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 Then my master led me towards the bush. We passed by and walked away across the wood. When we had put ourselves within a wood that was not marked by any path whatever, not foliage green, but of a dusky color, not branches smooth, but gnarled and intertangled, not apple trees were there, but thorns with poison. There do the hide-use harpies make their nests, broad wings have they and their great bellies fledged. They make laments upon the wondrous trees. I heard on all sides lamentation uttered, and person none beheld. I who might make them, whence utterly bewildered I stood still. I think my master thought that I had perhaps might think. So many voices issue through those trunks, from people who conceal themselves from us. Therefore the master said, if you break off some little spray from many of these trees, the thought you have will wholly be made vain.
Then I stretched forth my hand a little forward and plucked the branchlet off from the great thorn. And the trunk cried, "Why do you marry me after it had become number one with God and blood? It will come to the cross. Why do you write me how you are spirits of spiritual whatsoever? Men's once were and now are children. Did your hand true? Even if the souls of serpents will have as out of a green brand that is on fire, at one of the ends and from the other chips, and hisses with the wind that is escaping. So from the splinter issues from together, both words and blood. I then left the tip and stood back with horror and fear. Then blew from the trunks again a wind with a voice inside sang, when the soul abandons our bodies, mine is consigned to the seventh abyss. It falls in the forest, there like a grain of spelt it germinates. It springs a sapling, and a forest tree the harp is feeding, then upon it leaves do pain create, and for the pain an outlet. Then we were attentive still to the trunk voicing, when by a tumult we were overtaken. When by a tumult we were overtaken. Trembling as one feels when the ball and chains approaches, then the beast and branches crashing and clashing in the heat of a fierce race. And there on the left running so violently that broke off every twig in the dark wood, to torn and naked words were looking in. The leader cried, "Come now, all that, come now, come now, all that, come now." And suddenly in his rush, perhaps because his breath was failing him, he hid himself inside the thorny bush and cowered among his knees. And then at his back the woods leaped with black bitches, swift as greyhounds. Escaping from the lash, and on the back sprang on him. With their fangs they opened him wide. With their fangs they opened him and tore him savagely, and then withdrew, carrying his body with them, limb by limb. Limb by 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 limb.
passed by and walked away across the wood.
We could already hear the rumbling drive of the waterfall and its plunge to the narrow circle, a murmur like the throbbing of a hive when the shades turn together on the plain, breaking towards us from company that went its way to charter in that train. They cried with one voice as they ran toward me, "Wait, oh wait, for by your dress you seem a voyager from our own taint country. Oh, what once I saw, some new, some old, branded upon their bodies. Even now the pain of it in memory turns me cold." We posed and they began their ancient wail over again. When they stood below us, they formed themselves into a moving wheel, as naked and their anointed champions stood, in feeling out their grasp and their advantage, before they close in for the thrust or blow. So circling each one started up at my head, and as their feet moved left around the circle, the necks kept turning backwards to the right. The misery of this place and our encamped and scorched its appearance, one of them began, "Bring us, son, what we pray in content. Still may our earthly fame move you to tell who and what you are, who secretly set your live feet to the dust of hell." Build the naked soul rise before me. Around this wheel was higher than you think. There in the world in our and agree. They said as one we held the happy man. Therefore if you win through the gloomy path and climb again to see the heaven of stars, when it rejoices you to say I want, speak of us to the living, speak of us to the living. They parted them, breaking their turning wheel, and as they vanished over the plain, their legs seemed wings. Amen. Amen. Now see the sharp-tailed beast that mounts the brink. He passes mountains, break through walls and weapons. Behold the beast that makes the whole world sting. These were the words my master spoke to me. Then signaled the weird beast to come to ground, close to the sheer and I thought you're King Levy. The filthy prototype of broad drew near, settled his head and pressed upon the edge of the dark cliff, but let him tell his anger clear. His face was innocent, on every quill benign, and just in features and expression, and under it his body was half reptile. His two great bows were hairy to the armpits, and all his back and breast and both armpits were figured with bright notes and subtle circlets of light. As a ferry sometimes hang along the strand, part beach and parts afloat. On the rim which bounds the burning sandwich stone, his tail twitched in the void beyond the lip, scratching and twisting up the environment fork, which like a scorpion stinger on the tip. My guide said, it is time now. We drew near that monster, and descending on the right we moved 10 passes outward to be clear of sands and flames. And we were beside him, I saw upon the sand, a bit beyond us, some people crouching close beside the brim. The master said, go now and see the last state of that crew, but let your talk be brief, and I will stay and reason with this beast till you return. Then he strung back way service on my way. So further yet alone, the outer edge of the seventh circle, I moved on alone and came to the sad people on the ledge. Their eyes burst with their grief, their smoking hands jerked about their bodies, warding off now the flames and now the burning sands. I examined several faces there among. I observed the for each neck there hung an enormous purse, each workman marked with its own beast and its own colors. On these their streaming eyes appeared to feast, and one said to me, what are you doing in the pit of sorrow? Leave us alone, since you have not yet died. So I returned and found my guide already mounted upon the ramp of that monstrosity. And he said to me, now must you be undaunted, this beast must be our stairway to the pit. Mounted in front, and I will ride between you and the tail, lest you not be poisoned by it. So did I tremble at each frightful word. I mounted the great shoulders of that freak, but no sooner had I settled where he placed me, than he my stay, my comfort and my courage in other perils gathered and embraced me. Now Jerry, and we are ready, bear well in mind
that ease his living weight and make your circles wide and your flight steady. As a small ship slides from a beach into its pier, backward, backward, so that monster slipped back from the rim. And when he had drawn clear, he swung about it like an eel. And with his poles he gathered in the air while I turned pale. I think there was no greater fear than I felt when I found myself in air, afloat in space with nothing visible but the enormous beast that bore me there. Slowly, slowly he swims on through space, wheels and descends, but I can sense it only by the way the wind blows upward past my face. Already on the right I heard the swell and thunder of the whirlpool. Looking down I learned my head out and stared into hell. I trembled again at the prospect of this mountain and cowered in on myself, for I saw fires on every hand and I heard a long, long lamenting. And then I saw the course of our dawn spiral to the horrors that rose to us from all sides of the pit, to that bottom lit by endless fires. The monster Jerry encircled and fell, setting us down at the foot of the precipice of fragged rocks of the 8th shelf of hell. And once freed of foul weight, he shot from there into the dark like arrow into air.
There's in hell a vast sloping ground called Melbourne, a lost place of stone, as black as the great cliff that seals its round precisely in the center of that space. There yawns a well extremely wide and deep. I shall discuss it in its proper place. The border that remains between the well pit and the great cliff forms an enormous circle, and 10 descending throws are cut in it, offering a general prospect like the ground that lies around one of those ancient castles, whose walls are gridded many times around by concerting moats. And just as from the portal, the castle bridge run from moat to moat to the last bank, so from the great rock wall across the embankments and the ditches, high and narrow cliffs run to the central well, which cuts and gathers them. Here, shaken from the back of Geryon, we found ourselves. My guide kept to the left and I walked after him, so we moved on. Below on my right and filling the first ditch, along both banks new souls in pain appeared, new lorments and new devils black as pitch. All of those sinners were naked. On our side of the middle they walked toward us, on the other in our direction, but with swifter stride. and everywhere along the hideous lashes move through those souls, scourging them on the back. Oh, how the struggles of that long route steered their legs quick march at the first crack of the lash. Certainly no one waited for a second or a third. Turning away, we came in a few steps to the raised ridge that made the passage to the other side. This we climbed easily, and turning right along the jagged crest, we left behind the eternal circle of those souls in flight. And when we reached the part at which the stone were turned by the passage of the scourge, we had already come to where the walk crosses the second bank, from which it lifts another arc, spanning from rock to rock.
Here we heard people whine in the next chasm, and knock and thump themselves with open palms, and blubber through their stones as if in spasm. Streaming from that pit of vapor rose over the bank, crusting them with a stream that sickened my eyes and hammered my nose. That chasm sinks so deep we couldn't sight its bottom anywhere until we climbed along the arc to its greater height. One there I peered down and I saw long lines of people in a river of excrements that seemed the overflow of the world's latrines.
Here in the third fosse of the rim of fire, we had already made our way across to the next grave. And to the part of the bridge which hangs above the midpoint of the fosse. I saw along the walls and on the ground long rows of holes cut in the livid stone. All were cut to a size and all were round. They seemed to be exactly same size. From every mouth a sinner's legs stuck out as far as the calf
The soles were all ablaze, and the joints of the legs quivered and writhed about. Withers and tithers would have snapped in their throats as oil things blaze upon the surface only. So did they burn from the heels to the points of their toes. Master approached, and with both arms he lifted me, and when he had gathered me against his breast, remounted the rocky path out of the valley. Nor did tire of holding me, clasped to him until we reached the topmost point of the arc, which crosses from the fourth to the fifth rim of the pits of woe, the fifth rim of the pits of woe. We arrived upon the bridge. He tenderly set down the heavy burden. Here I look down on still another more. My vantage point permitted me a clear view on the depths of the pit below, a desolation bathed with tears of its tormented crew, who moved about the circle of the pit at about the pace of a litany procession. Silent and weeping, they went round and round and round it. They went round and round it. And when I looked down through the faces, I saw that each of them was hideously distorted. Between the top of the chest and the lines of the jaw, for the face was reversed on the neck, and they came on backwards at their loins, for the look before them was forbidden. Someone sometimes in the grip of a palsy way. I've been distorted so, but never to my knowledge, nor do I believe the like was ever seen. Listeners, so may God grant you to understand my poem and profit from it. Ask yourself how I could check my tears when near at hand I saw the image of our humanity distorted, so that the tears that burst from their eyes ran down the cleft of their buttocks. Certainly I wept. I leaned against the jagged face of a rock and wept. Certainly I wept and wept. So that my guide said, still like the other fools, there is no place for pity here. Who is more arrogant within his soul? Who is more impious than one who dares to sorrow at God's judgments? There is no place for pity here. And then we traveled on. And then we traveled on. And then we traveled on and left behind the walk of the diviners, sinners. Thus talking of things which my comedy does not care to sing, we passed from one arc to the next until we stood upon its summit. Then we checked our steps to study the next foes and the next vain lamentations of Malbauge. Awesomely dark and desolated it was. A viscid pitch boiled in the fosse below and coated all the bank with gluey mire. I saw the pitch, but I saw nothing in it except the enormous bubbles of its boiling, which swelled and sank like breathing through all the pit.
As I stood and stared into that sink, my master cried, "Take care," and drew me back from my exposed position of that brink. I turned like one who cannot wait to see the things he dreads, and who in sudden fright runs while he looks, with curiosity competing with terror. And at my back I saw a figure that came running towards us across the ridge, a demon huge and black. Oh, what a face he had, all hate and wilderness. Galloping so with his great wings outspread, he seemed the embodiment of all bitterness. Across each high-hunched shoulder he had thrown one haunch of a sinner, whom he held in place with a great talon round each ankle bone. Black talons of our bridge, he began to roar. "I bring you one of Santa Zita's elders. Scrubs him down while I go back for more." I planted the harvest of them in that city. Everyone there is a grafter. Their yes is no, and no is yes for fear. Down the sinner plunged, and at once the demon spurred from that cliff. No mastiff ever sprang more eager than from the lane to chase a felon. Down plunged the sinner and sought to reappear, with his backside arc in his face, in both his feet glued to the pitch, almost as in prayer. But the demons under the bridge who guard the place, and the sinners who are thrown to them, boiled out. You're out of bound here from the sacred face. Take your look and then get down in the pitch, and stay below unless you want to taste of a grappling hook. There they raked him with more than 100 hooks below him. Here you dance below the cover craft. All you can there. No one check your books. They did him down into the pitch exactly as a chief makes colored boys dip meat in a boiler, holding it with their hooks from floating free. And the master said, "You had best not be seen by these fiends till I'm ready. Crouch down here, one of these rocks will serve you a screen, and whatever violence you see done to me, you have no cause to fear. I know these matters. I've been through this once and came back safely." With that he walked on past the end of the bridge, and I wanted all his courage to look calm from the moment he arrived on the 6th ridge. With the same stone and fury that arouses all the house, when the hounds leap a trap, who suddenly falls to pleading where he poses. So rush those fiends from below, and on the back pointed their flaming creature left my ride. But he stood fast and cried to them, "Stand back, stand back, stand back." Before those hooks and grapple make too free, send up one of your crew to hear me out. Then ask yourself if you still care to rip me, or cry as one, let Malacado go. So the pack stood and one of them came forward, saying, what good does he think they will do? Do you think, Malacoda, my good master said, you would see me here, having arrived this far already, safe from you and every dread, without divine will and propitious fate? Let me pass on, for it is willed in heaven that I must show another distress day. The demon stood there on the flinty brim, so taken aback he let his pitchfork drop. They said to the others, take care not to harm him. Oh, you crouched like a cat, my God called me, among the jagged rock piles of the bridge. Come down to me, for now you may come safely. Hearing him I hurried down the land, and the demons all press forward when I appear, so that I feel they might not keep their plan. I press the whole of my body against my guide, and not for an instant did I take my eyes from those black fiends who scrolled on every side. This one therefore saying to one another, shall I give him a touch of that rock? An answering, sure, give him a taste to pay him for his brother. But the demon who out talking to my guide turned round and cried to them, are these their snatchers? And then to us, there's no road on this side. The yard cries all in pieces in the pit. If you must go on, follow along the ridge. There's another cliff to cross by. You beyond it. In just 5 hours it will be since the bridge fell, 1,266 years and a day. That was the time the big wave should call hail. I'll send a squad of my boys that way to see if anyone's airing himself below. You can go with them, there will be no foul play. They turned along the left bank in a line, but before they started, all of them together had stuck their pointed tongues out as a sign to their captain that they wished permission to pass, and he made a trumpet of his ass. We went with a 10-inch savage crew. All my attention was fixed upon the pitch to observe the people who were boiling in it, and the customs and the punishments of that ditch. So I witnessed the rage of the demons snatching and tearing apart the poor souls that as dolphins raised their heads out to get to some relief from time to time. In a frenzy of terror they were attacked and attacked again, pushed down into the boiling pit. Silence apart, unintended we went, as minor friars go when they walk abroad, one following the other. When not far off, their giant wings outspread, I saw the Fanes come charging for us, seizing me instantly in his arms. My guide raised me, turned me, and down the ragged bank from the high summit, laying himself down onto the slope, which was the upper side of the next pit. We soon were on the bed of death below, when on the height we had just left the fans beat their great wings, but no cause for fright, for the providence that gave them the fifth pit to govern takes them from their souls the power of leaving it. About us now in the depth of the pit we found the
painted people, weary and defeated. Slowly and pale they paced it round and round. All wore great cloaks cut to as ample size, enormous hoods drawn over their eyes. The outside is all dazzling, golden and fair. The inside land so heavy, so heavy. Weary mantle for eternity. We turn to the left again along their course, listening to their moan of misery. Then I saw a figure crucified upon the ground by 3 great stakes, and I fell still in awe. When he saw me there, he began to puff great sighs into his beard, convulsing all his body. Then we went towards a bridge that runs from the great circle of the sky and crosses every ditch from ridge to ridge. We picked our way up the cliff, a painful climb, for it was narrower, steeper and more jagged than any we had crossed up to that time. So we moved down the bridge to the stone pier that shows the end of the arc on the 8th bank. And there I saw the chasm's depth made clear, and their great coils of serpents meets my sight, so hideous a mass that even now the memories makes my blood run cold with fright. Amid that swarm, naked and without hope, people run terrified, not even dreaming of a hole to hide in. Their hands were bound behind by cords of serpents, which thrust their heads and tails between the loins and bunch in front a mass of naked torments. One of the dandies came racing round the boulder, and as he passed us, a great snake shot up and bit him where the neck joins with the shoulder. Quickly in a flash he flamed and fell in ashes, and when he was dissolved into a heap upon the ground, the dust rose of itself and immediately resumed its former shape.
The sinner struggled up to his feet, blinks his eyes, stupefied by the great agony he had just passed, and looking round him, sighs and sighs again. Another thief cursing God, so a big snake calls itself about the wretch's neck, while another tied his arm behind him again, knots in his hand and tail between his loin, so tight he could not move a finger in pain. Without another word the thief fell, and there I saw a furious center race up, roaring, "Where's the Esolen, the blasphemer?" I do not think as many serpents swarm in all the remasterisée he bore on his back, from the haunch to the first sign of our human form. Upon his shoulder, just behind his head, a snorting dragon, whose hot breath set fire to all it touched, lay with its wings outspread. The Sumter passed along his way, and 3 rats came. We heard them say, "You there, how are you? You there, who are you?" Suddenly, as I watched, I saw a lizard come darting forward on 6 great taloned feet, and fasten itself to a sinner from crotch to gizzard. Its middle feet sunk in the sweet and grim of the richest punch. Its forget clowned his arm, its teeth beat through in both cheeks at the same time. Its teeth beat through both cheeks at the same time. More horrors I witnessed that very moment, one cannot speak about to any gentle person. So here I decide to become quiet and move to the next page of this darkly trip. Who could describe, even in words set free of metric and rhymes, and 1,000 times retold the blood and wounds that now were shown to me. At grief so deep, the tongue must walk in vain. The language of our sense and memory lacks the vocabulary of such pain that could not equal the mutilation of the 9th bit screw. So one sinner split from chin to ass, between his legs all his red guts hung, with the heart, the lungs, the liver, the gallbladder, and the chiseled sack that passes shit to the bone. I stood and stared at him from the stone shelf. He noticed me, and opening his own breast, with both hands cried, "See how I rip myself!" And split open a hand of me walks another in his tears, his head cleft from the top knot to the chin, and all the other souls that bleed and moan along the ditch were sores and scandal and schism as they tore others apart. So are they torn? I saw it there, I saw a body without a hand that moved along like all the others in that spoo and spill. It held the severed head by its own hair, swinging like a lantern in its hand, and the head looked at us and wept in despair. It made itself a lamp of its own head, and they were two in one and one in two, and when it stood directly under us, it raised the head at arm's length toward our bridge, the better to be heard, and swaying thus it cried, "O living soul in the abyss, see what a sentence has been passed upon us, and search all hell for one to equal this. When you return to the world, remember me, remember us." The sight of that parade of broken dead had left my eyes so salted with their tears. I longed to stay and weep. The time was then to keep on moving ahead on these doomed places. There, Malbutch's final cluster laid out spread, as it was to see the spirits lying heaped on one another in the dark bottom of that fetid valley. One lay gasping on another's shoulder, one on another's belly, and some were crawling on hands and knees among the broken boulders. Silent, slow, step by step, we moved ahead, looking at and listening to those souls, too weak to raise themselves from their stone bed. They were covered with great scars from head to foot. Those spirits of the stinking ditch scrubbed up themselves with their own bloody clothes to ease the furious burning of the itch, and as they scrubbed and clothed themselves, Their nails drew down the scabs the way a knife scraps bream, or some other fish with even larger scales. We turned our backs on the valley and climbed from it to the top of the stony bank that walls it round, crossing in silence to the central pit. Here it was, less than night and less than day. My eyes could make out little through the gloom, but I heard the shrill note of a trumpet bray louder than any thunder. As if by force it drew my eyes, I stared into the gloom along the path of the sound back into its source. And as I stared through that obscurity, I saw what seemed the cluster of great towers. I cried, "Master, what is this city?" And he, "You are still too far back in the dark to make out clearly what you think you see. It is natural that you should miss the mark." The better to prepare you for strange truth, let me explain those shapes as you see ahead. They are not towers but giants. They stand in the well from the navel down, and stationed round its bank they mount guard of the final pits of hell. Slowly the shapes out of the vapor grew clear, as I drew across the darkness to the central brink. The grim giants raised from the rim of stone above that well, the upper halves of the bodies which loomed up like turrets through the murky air of hell. There stood the giant's breasts, as recognized among them, Nimrod, Ephiatlis, Briareus, Titius, and Typhoon. After a little one, the bigger came to us, and the giant without delay reached out his hands, and he took us in his arms, and soon gently set us down inside the final hole. It is not easy undertaking to describe the bottom of the universe. We stood now in the dark pit of the well, far down the slope below the giant's feet. And while I still stared up at the great wall, whereat I turned and saw beneath my feet, and stretching out ahead, a lake so frozen, it seemed to be made of glass. Here in the lake of ice, the livid dead are sealed in place. Sealed up to the port at which they blushed of shame, and they beat their teeth like storks. Each hold his face bowed toward the eyes, each of them testifies to the cold, with his chattering mouth to his heart's grief, with tears that flowed forever from his eyes, and trees forming a crystal visor above the eye sockets. Thus forever is the ice faith of all, the filthiest traitors to their countries and to their souls' mates. Then somehow through the icy cold I felt a wind beginning to blow. March the banner of the King of Hell, my master said, the world does look straight ahead. Can you make him out at the core of the frozen shell? Like a whirling windmill, see a far twilight or when a mist has risen from the ground. Just such an engine rose upon my sight, stirring up such a wild and bitter wind. I stood now where the souls of the last crowd were covered wholly. They shone below the eyes like straws in glass. Some lie stretched out, others are fixed in place, upright, some on their heads, some on their souls. Another like a bow bends foot to base, and nine. When we had gone so far across the ice to see the full creature which once had won the grace of paradise, do not ask, listener, how my blood ran cold and my voice choked up with fear. I cannot write it. This is a terror that cannot be told. The emperor of the universe of pain jutted his upper chest above the ice, and I am closer in size to the great mountain. The Titans makes around the central pit, then they his arm, he is hideous, he the source of every war. I saw his head soaring above me, for it had three faces. One was in front and it was fiery red. The other two, as weirdly wonderful, merge with it from the middle of its shoulder to the point where all converge at the top of the skull. The right was something between white and bile. The left was about the color that one finds on those who live along the banks of the Nile. Under each head wings rose terribly, their spun proportionate to so gross a bird. I never saw such sails upon the sea. There were no feathers, but textures and forms like bats' wings. He beat them so that three winds blew from him, two and two on great storm. It is these winds that freeze all Cocytus. He wept from his 6 eyes and drove through his chins. The tears ran mixed with bloody froth and pus. In every mouth he worked a broken sinner between his rake-like teeth, as he kept them in eternal pain at his eternal dinner. Oh, horrible, horrible, horror, horror. Then my guide said the night is coming on and we must go, for we have seen the whole truth now. I'm watching for a moment when the wings were opened wide, reach over dexterously and seize their shaggy coat of the king demon, then grabbing matted hair and frozen crust from one turf to another, clamber down. When we had reached the joint, when the great thigh merged into the swelling of the haunch, my guide, shining terribly, turned his head to where his feet had been and began to grip the hair as if we were climbing. Hold fast, my mother said, there is no way but by such stairs to rise above such evil. At last we climbed through an opening in the central rock. I looked back thinking to see Lucifer as I had left him, and I saw instead his legs projecting high into the air. Master said, the sun already mounts to middle tears, and a long road and hard climbing lie ahead. I said, oh my master, explain, where is the ice? And Lucifer, how has he turned from top to bottom? He said, now we pass the point to which all gravities are drawn. We are under the other hemisphere now. The sky above us is the hearth opposed to hell. Then we began to mount that little known and lightless road, to ascend into the shining world again. We climbed the dark until we reach the point where a round opening brought inside the blessed and beauteous shining of the heavenly cars. And we walked out once more beneath the stars, beneath the stars, recovered. And I swear I heard children's voices chanting in a strange tongue to my ears. Or were they angels I forgot about in my darkly voyage?
main, bulletin, 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 tintamarre, marabout, bout de ficelle, selle de cheval, cheval de course, course à pied, pied à terre, terre de feu, feu soleil, lait de vache, vache de ferme, ferme ta boîte, boîte aux lettres, lettres d'amour, mourra trois de fin, fin d'histoire, toi, au dortoir. Argent, c'est fesses de loup, au dortoir. C'est bon. Après, j'ai fini. Après, au dortoir.
C'est sûr?
Ouais, c'est tout. Bah, tu sais que c'est comme les praticiens, tu la connais, comme les praticiens comme le chat le chat gris qui l'a chanté, tu t'en souviens? Ouais, mais il a rajouté des paroles.